I'm live. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Please like, subscribe, comment. So I was like just on a walk and I literally like busted home because I was thinking about something on my walk and I really wanted to get it out before I forgot it. So I was thinking about how we kind of like create these perfect circumstances in our lives to exacerbate our worst insecurities. And so, an example of this is like, it's often about other people. It's like there is something that we are desperately trying to prevent happening in our lives around other people. And then what shows up but like the very thing, or it's not the very thing, but it's like something that picks at that wound, you know? And so this can be anything, but I was just thinking about like, so sometimes there are things that manifest in our lives that are really obvious, like how that showed up. It's like, right, I always say I'm on time, and look, I'm on time. I'm always on time, and it's just there. Or the reverse, I'm always late. But then to use that example of like being on time or late, you don't necessarily have to have a belief that I always end up in traffic to be late. It's like other circumstances manifest, present themselves in order to make those other beliefs align. So and that's like it can be anything, but they come up not because you believe in them, but because there's like a pathway to it. And this, I think, like these pathways, these like possibilities, it's like I was talking to my mom about this the other night. How is it that if you are struck by lightning, you are more likely to be struck by lightning again? Like, how is that possible? And I think, for what it's worth, that it's because once you've like created a channel, you've created a possibility, now it exists in the realm of what can show up to have these other beliefs take place. Like, if it's been possible once, it can repeat itself, and the more that it repeats, the more that it has that pathway to show up for you. So, to go back to kind of what I was talking about in terms of things are showing up because they're manifestations or results of your insecurities. It's like you have a really important day the next day and then you can't sleep. So you don't have to be thinking like, "Oh, I have a hard time falling asleep." It's just like because you've put so much importance on having to be at your prime, at your best the next day, then something shows up because you have a fear, because you have like something in your space around it not going well, because you can't really be afraid if it's like inconceivable that it won't go well. Like, then you can't have a fear around something that you're not aware of. So really what's really present for you if ever you're anxious is something that could go wrong, that maybe has gone wrong in the past. That is like a channel, a pathway for you, right? And then what shows up is a means to have that come about. So another example I think is like really interesting is skin issues. I don't know if any of you guys know Louise Hay. I love Louise Hay, and I will always love Louise Hay. I was going through a period in my life when I would fall asleep listening to her. And she's, for those of you who don't know, she's this 80-year-old woman who beat cancer just with positive thinking, and founded Hay House, and really paved the path for a lot of people. And she's just a great person. And so I went through a period of my life when I was listening to her just to fall asleep. And actually, like, my boyfriend at the time got really used to listening to her when we fell asleep too. And he started doing it too, just because he found it so soothing and relaxing. And so Louise Hay has this list of what physical symptoms mean on a deeper psychological level. And all of it really boils down to like lack of love for self. But like pimples or acne is on there. And I don't, she has like these specific like, oh, this means this. So like like pimples, I think means like anger that is boiling up to the surface. So like I do think there's something to the perfect metaphors that show up in our lives, but then I'm also thinking about like when we want to make a good impression, or maybe if we're like very self-conscious of ourselves, we're very like afraid of others looking at us, of others scrutinizing us. We want to show up in the best way possible. And the reason that we want to show up in the best way possible is because we're afraid that others are judging us really harshly. And if you look at like being a teenager, that's the period of your life when your peer group matters more than anyone. And that's the first time that's been so. As a kid, the most important people in your life are your caretakers, are mom and dad or siblings, you know? And then you move into adolescence and suddenly it's your friends. And that's like on an evolutionary scale, that's exactly where it should be. Like you're with that's like where you're supposed to be developmentally. Um However, so it's like you're trying really hard to impress your peers. There isn't like this natural grounded state of like of just it's not mom and dad. There isn't this like grounded platform of love and stability necessarily with your peers that existed before. So you're really trying to like impress people and find belonging in something that isn't naturally there. And so there's a lot of insecurities that come with that. And and a lot of teenagers seem to struggle with acne, and it's like so we have the kind of biological explanation for why that is. Oh, there's a lot of like sebum production or whatever it is. And I'm not disclaiming the biological thing, but it's like anyway, I'm just saying there's more to it than that because also there's lots of teenagers who don't have that. And I think there's something to the fact that like when you have a date, you get a pimple on your nose like that day. That day, like what accounts for that? And people say, "Oh yeah, it's just stress." And to a certain extent that's true. It is stress. But what is stress? Like, okay, yeah, we have like cortisol. But if you think about all of this, like, I don't know, this is what I think about all day. So it's just like the timing of it is so perfect that, like, of course, today, when I want to be looking my best, I don't. I don't. And the way that that can show up is is such a huge variety of ways. And whatever like is most probable is most like the easiest pathway, that's what comes about. My sister had her birthday this past week. I hi. My sister had her birthday this past week and she got sick. And we were talking about it a little bit because I saw her birthday was on Friday, and then I saw her on Sunday, and she was doing a lot better, like a lot better. And she actually said that she was like, I think there was part of me that was just so a little bit stressed about the birthday because there's so much expectation built up into a birthday. People are really like wishing you well and like really, really wanting you to have such a great time, and all eyes are on you. And she was saying, there was a part of me that just didn't want to do it. And so she got really sick, and my parents and I, we went over to her house and we were going to like, have this whole party thing. And she was so sick that she couldn't even get out of bed. So it was really sad. So we ate dinner downstairs while she was asleep, and then we each like took turns tiptoeing upstairs, and I gave her like a little bit of a back rub, but there was no party, when we left, and just wished her a good night. And so she totally got out of having her party. And actually thinking about this, my sister has done this on multiple occasions. And actually I've done this where I like skip town on my birthday. But I remember as kids, like she would hide during her birthday. There would be a party and there would be a bunch of kids there, and she would go somewhere else. She would disappear because it was too much pressure for her. And so, there's just something about the timing of that. She didn't necessarily think, oh, I'm going to get sick. But there was something about the birthday and her not wanting to deal with the birthday. And so something manifested that took her away from that situation, that excused her from that situation. and that's like pretty amazing. So way of the straws. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. If you can explain that, yeah, if you can explain that question. So the reason why this is important is hi. The reason why this is important is because so often we treat the symptom. We treat the symptom. We treat like so everything is happening on a subconscious, unconscious level. Like so much is just done 100% for you. You don't think about growing your hair. You don't think about growing your nails. You don't think about the shape of your nails. You don't think about the shape of your lips or, like our bodies replenish themselves, like turn over new completely new cells. It's really interesting to think about that. Like there is no continuum. Like literally your body is completely new from what it was when you were about 5 years old, and has been multiple times. Like there's a difference in timelines, but so it's kind of like there's like a thought experiment about like if you break a ship apart piece by piece and then put it back together with the same pieces, is it the same boat? And that's basically what our bodies do all the time. So how do they know to go back in those exact same places without us doing any of that? Like how is it that it is the same every time? I have like this little bump in my thumbnail, and it's gotten a lot better actually, which is super interesting, but it's like how does my thumb know to do that, and why does it do that? And so that's happening to you always in everything. It's like regenerating itself based on your expectations and based on your deep seated beliefs about like your insecurities or your hopes, or like what you believe the whole structure of this thing is. And so with treating the symptom, it's like so often something manifests, something comes up like a pimple. Let's just like stick with that example because it's super simple. And you get a pimple, and you like go and you get like a little pimple patch. And that's fine. Pimple patches are amazing, and I'm a big fan of them. But it's like worth examining. Okay, what does this pimple like get in the way of? What do I have to deal with, or what do I not get to have if I have this pimple? So if it's like, and you see this with people's professions or people's like relationships all the time. They seem to come up with the exact thing that blocks the thing that they are trying to have. So it's like people that have to be on camera a lot, or people who feel like they're being looked at a lot, they'll get things like that, you know? Things where like it's it's exactly what they don't want, and that's what shows up. So instead of treating the pimple with whatever, like a whatever it is, hydrocolloid, whatever it is, I'm not saying that won't work, but I'm just saying, okay, what is this? What insecurity is this triggering? And can I stop worrying about that? Can I, like, for myself, just trust that I'm okay, that I don't need to impress others, that I look like what I look like, that others don't care, they're more wrapped up in themselves, that I just get to show up. And if you actually get to a place where you're there, ironically, because you don't ironically, like, this is the thing, you won't get pimples. Like, people who don't care about not getting pimples don't have pimples. That's the ironic thing. So it's like you have to get to a place where you can show up however you want. And then what ends up happening is like you look really good. Um, yeah. Aw, you came to get motivated. Why do I look so young? I mean, I look so young because I've been told forever that I look so young. That's really the story of it. Yep, that's it. I've been told that since I was like young. It's ironic because like when I was very young, I was told, "Oh, you're such an old soul." And now like, it's not so weird that I'm in now it's, like or maybe now it's, like, super weird that I talk the way I do and I think the way that I do, and people still think I'm 16 or something. I went to get my vaccination. When I went to get my vaccination, the person was like, "Where's your mom?" They were very worried that I was there unparented. Life is hard, full of pain. No, life is not hard and full of pain. It's not. It is what you say it is. It is what you say it is. There's a lot of resistance in the world. Like we're really afraid. Basically everything comes down to fear. And what fear is just like a lack of trust, is just a lack of feeling safe. So the opposite of that, like some people are like, "Oh, the only thing that's real is love." I don't know if that's true, that the only thing that's real is love. I think that we live in an abundant universe. And so, in that abundance, there is pain, but like somehow that is love in and of itself too, because it's an absence of love. Anyway, it is. Like, I know that sounds really simple, but life is what you make it. And there is like something to power of positivity. Everyone's been telling you like all the things that you need to know your entire life. It's just, have you been listening? I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. Okay, so I think that's everything that I really wanted to get down. It was like a really big you know, when you're walking and you just get these like really, really, really good ideas. And for myself too, it was just like, oh, oh, that's why Louise Hay possibly is correct about like everything having its own symptom. It's just that like in dreams, you have to be like, so what does this mean for me? With what shows up in your life, like it can be helpful to not look at the thing that's showing up too closely, but to take a broader perspective and to be like, so if this is so, if like, I don't know, if my girlfriend broke up with me, what does that mean about me on a bigger scale? Why is this so terrible for me? And if you can see that and then flip that, then other things are going to happen in terms of romantic relationships or something like that, that's going to reflect a bigger belief. So you really want to like, you want to get to those big beliefs, because that's where you kind of get to let go of the reins a little bit, and things start happening always to the positive. And sometimes like it'll take you on kind of like a weird detour, but if you really have like a secure faith that your life just works out, that things just work out for you, that other people just take care of things, or that like you're just lucky or things like that, then you'll have these tiny manifestations, that add up to that. And that's like really, really fun. It's all just fun, guys. Like just have fun with this. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's been a while. You heard of Google though? Okay. Anyway, yeah, that's all of it. I have a feeling that people are asleep. Okay. No, I'm not gonna paint a stronger. I mean, I think so. So wait, I do want to address this thing. Okay. So there's a perception that pain and going through difficulties in one's life is like what makes people more evolved, or what makes people like really create themselves, like make themselves. So it's like, oh, like the people who have been through the hardest stuff, like those are the most admirable people. I personally, this is what I want to say. I'm not going to say that's not true. It could absolutely be true. However, I don't want to adhere to that mindset because I don't think it's necessary. I am hesitant to ever claim that, because that will have people turn towards that struggle, turn towards their struggle, and maybe even identify and love their struggle. And there is always something freeing in accepting and like letting in and allowing. There's absolutely something freeing, because then what you're being is allowing and open. And beingness, let's get into that in a different video. Beingness defines so much of who you are. So I'm not going to say that it's wrong to love your struggle, but it's not necessary. You don't have to go into the basement. You know, like if it's a horror film, you can leave the house. You can leave the house and you can be just as big of a shining beacon for others without having gone through those things. I was talking to my dad about teachers the other day. He was like, some of the best players make the worst teachers. So to be a teacher, you have to understand these struggles that people tend to go through. And the best way to understand that is if you have gone through that yourself. So the best players, maybe they skip that. For some reason, they never had to learn the hard way. It just kind of came naturally to them. So they're not necessarily the best teachers. They can't exactly relate to others on that level. However, are they something else at at a different level? Do they understand like happiness or peace or of course they do. They're just doing something else. They're just doing something different. So you don't have to struggle. And I would also say that like struggle is just like a kink in the hose. So you have to grow when, like the water isn't flowing. You have to look at like this isn't working. You're forced to. That doesn't mean that you need a kink in the hose. If that makes sense. That does make sense. Thank you, Chris James. That's very nice of you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. All right, guys. I tried to get on a bit earlier today because some people requested that, and it seemed a little bit late for people. But I think I'm gonna try to do these like live streams in the morning, preferably. So so yeah, I'm gonna be doing more of these, and yeah, and I'm also like working on a website that should be up pretty soon. So okay, I love you so much, and have a beautiful evening wherever you are. All right, bye.